Tonight, fearing a worsening staffing shortage, Ontario is giving its nurses a $5,000 bonus.
This investment will help us to retain the nurses that we already have.
But their unions say the lump sum payment won't fix the problem. Some calling it simply a ploy to gain votes ahead of the June election. Plus,
and he was throwing her around like a rag doll, and he was stabbing her.
a neighbor describes the horrifying scene in Mississauga this morning. A woman is fighting for her life. A child also seriously injured after a stabbing at a townhouse complex. And
these are bandages, sutures down here.
a local organization is teaming up with Toronto hospitals to send much-needed medical supplies to Ukraine as the fighting rages on. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Ontario is giving its nurses a bonus in hopes of keeping them on the job. The health minister announcing today that all eligible nurses will each receive a $5,000 retention payment. But some are criticizing the move, saying the one-time lump sum won't be enough to fix the staffing shortage. Dahlia Ashry has more.
Matthew Shepard has been a nurse in Ontario for over a decade. He's burnt out.
It's just tiresome. My body hurts when I do things now.
He works in the operating room at St. Joseph's Healthcare Centre. 2 months ago, he made the switch from being a full-time nurse to part-time.
Especially in the operating room with all the surgeries that are backed up. It's a lot that we still have to do in a day.
Today, Ontario's Ministry of Health announced $763 million to support nurses as the province recovers from the pandemic.
Ontario will provide a lump sum payment of up to $5,000 for eligible full-time nurses and a prorated payment of up to $5,000 for eligible part-time and casual nursing staff.
Catherine Hoy, president of Ontario Nurses Association, thinks that's unfair to those who aren't full-time.
They're part-timers, casuals. They were there every day. They were supposed to be there. They picked up extra shifts. They supported their communities. But that $5,000 is going to be prorated, and they're not going to get what they should have gotten.
In a letter to Premier Ford, the ONA and 3 other healthcare unions further criticized the move, saying it won't fix the staffing shortage. Instead of a lump sum payment,
I would have far preferred Bill 124 to have been repealed.
That legislation was introduced in 2019 and capped annual salary increases for many public sector employees, including nurses, at an average of 1% annually for 3 years.
So that we could go back to the bargaining table and bargain what should be fair for a female-dominated profession. I want another 14%, to be brutally honest.
Shepard agrees the $5,000 bonus won't make a big impact.
And it's a Band-Aid solution. The majority of that money is just going to get taxed from us.
He also thinks it's a bit of a ploy, given the provincial election is just a few months away.
I think that the timing of this is actually spot on for what he would do, or any politician would probably do, to smooth out any sort of rough edges and then win votes.
Nurses must be employed as of March 31st to receive the first payment and September 1st to receive the second. Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
A woman is fighting for her life after a stabbing in Mississauga this morning. A child and the suspect were also taken to hospital with injuries. Now, Peel police say that a knife and a hammer were used. Ardell Manukduk spoke with a neighbor who described the terrifying scene.
There was an 11-year-old boy just covered in blood, and his arm was bleeding. And he tells me that his father is stabbing his mother 3 doors down.
CBC has agreed to conceal the identity of this neighbor. He says the boy approached him while he was out having a cigarette at 10 o'clock this morning.
The kid was covered in blood, so I went over to see what was going on. And he was naked and had a knife in his right hand, and he was throwing her around like a rag doll, and he was stabbing her. And like I told him, hey buddy, you know what? This isn't right, whatever. And he told me, look, you come near me, you're going to get stabbed too.
That's when the neighbor says he grabbed the 11-year-old, ran back to his place, and called 911.
The kid was bleeding everywhere. Like, I can't even clean my floors. There's blood everywhere. They told me because the forensic scientists have to come over and check it out.
When police arrived, they found the woman outside the home. The Special Investigations Unit has taken over the investigation because one of the officers fired their gun.
The man was not struck by the firearm. However, the SIU automatically invokes its mandate whenever there is a discharge of a firearm, as was the case in this circumstance.
Police say that the woman is in life-threatening condition. The 11-year-old has serious injuries but is stable. A 2-year-old is in hospital but is unharmed, and that the 47-year-old man has serious injuries and is in police custody. The neighbor says he saw the man regularly.
I see him every day. He drives, parks his truck, that truck there, and he always says hello, always waves, very quiet person. His wife is a very nice person. Takes the kids to school every day, picks them up.
And the neighbor says that the 11-year-old boy has cuts to his right arm and on his back. He says that the truck behind me does belong to the father. Police say that the investigation is in its early stages, but are asking anybody with information to come forward. Nobody has been charged yet. Dale Minukduk, CBC News, Mississauga.
Ukraine is accusing Moscow of using medieval tactics as Russian attacks intensify on day 12 of the invasion. Heavy shelling was reported in multiple Ukrainian cities. Many residential areas have been hit by rockets, with a lot of neighborhoods cut off from electricity, water, and even access to food. And meanwhile, a third round of talks between Russia and Ukraine today ended with little progress. Ukrainian negotiators says there is renewed effort to set up safe humanitarian corridors for civilians. Now, both sides traded blame for Russian shelling over the weekend on areas meant to allow those escaping the fighting. The UN Refugee Agency says more than 1.7 million people have already fled to neighboring countries. And as the fighting rages on in Ukraine, there's a growing need for medical supplies in the country. Our Ali Chiasson shows us how one organization is teaming up with local hospitals to help.
These were all donated by UHN. So this was an enormous donation that came in. Surgical scrubs.
These aren't boxes of canned goods or clothing to be donated.
Sponges, sharps boxes. These are bandages, sutures down here.
You're looking at supplies going into a war zone, things to treat serious wounds.
The emergency care will be done on the front lines. There's also going to be orthopedics and general surgery too.
The group, Not Just Tourists, has been doing this work for 30 years, and they've partnered up with the University Health Network, which donates its surplus medical supplies.
These supplies that are still good, but for whatever reason we're not able to use them, or maybe we've changed brands or things like that. So what we do is we get the supplies from the supply cabinets all through down into the loading docks, and then get it to Not Just Tourists. They're on that side, that's where they're taking it to the different communities that are around the world.
This could be after a natural disaster somewhere, or even...
In one situation, we actually had a very large donation of hospital beds that we donated to a hospital in Africa that specialized in Ebola. We're very lucky in North America that we have as much here to be able to take care of patients. Other places in the world don't have that luxury, and so we always want to be able to pay it forward.
But now the focus is on the injured in Ukraine, and so far they've shipped 46 boxes of medical equipment and counting.
We haven't set a specific target other than let's collect as much as we can, because the energy is there, people are motivated and mobilizing, and because of this we also hope that this goes for a time when hopefully the day is that the Ukraine conflict isn't happening, but there's somewhere else around the world that also needs this, and that we have as many people who have become part of this particular program collecting and donating regularly, so that we're always taking care of everyone around the world.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, we knew that Sunday was going to be kind of a one-day event. Temperatures dipping back down today and quite messy with that wet snow.
Yeah, that's right. March can be, it can bestow gifts, but it can also be kind of a cruel month just because of the ups and downs and trying to keep up with the weather conditions. So from 16 degrees yesterday and had lots of readings in those teens to a daytime high, look at this today, 3 degrees, and most of the afternoon sitting just above freezing, around 1, before dropping down to that freezing mark and seeing that messy kind of mix that has been pushing through more snowfall through the evening hours, obviously, as we got past the mix and just turned into some of this wetter snow. Now, through the overnight hours, still enough of a wind blowing that although most of the precipitation moves on, we still have some flurries and a little bit of cloud cover still coming off the lake, that development there. Early in the morning, some of that cloud around 2. And then you'll see it kind of eroding. So we'll call it variable, the skies tomorrow, sort of a mix of sun and cloud, but many areas will have quite a bit of sunshine. Quieter conditions, winds still a little breezy tonight into tomorrow, but by the afternoon they calm down. -4, close to seasonal, that daytime high, 3 degrees, Calda.
Thanks so much, Colette. The Ford government is reversing a controversial decision to deregulate the body that oversees traditional Chinese medicine. As our Lisa Shing explains, it comes after major backlash from practitioners.
Everyone here, that's why they changed their mind.
By the time these protesters showed up at Queen's Park, the government had just announced it's no longer scrapping the College of Traditional Chinese Medicine.
What they did is the backstep to start with. So from that moment, I don't trust this government. But now, I'm glad they changed their mind.
I think that they did not go through proper consultation process.
We are treating people, we are not damaging people. So I hope government can show respect to our professions.
Last week, the province tabled a labor bill that, among other things, dissolved the college, which was responsible for regulating the Chinese medicine industry, including certifying practitioners and investigating complaints. The reversal comes as a petition garnered almost 40,000 signatures to stop the move, concerned it would endanger patients. The government originally made the changes because it says the current system shut out those practitioners who didn't speak English. But now it says it's working with the college to develop a Chinese exam for those who only speak Cantonese and Mandarin.
We thought that this was the right approach. Clearly, there is different ways of doing it.
The opposition didn't quite see it like that.
They made this brutal mistake because they didn't care to pick up the phone or to have a meeting or to have a conversation with people who would be directly impacted.
This will be something that they will carry with them for a long time. The lack of respect of this government toward their profession.
The government did not explain why it made such a sweeping change to fix a seemingly minor problem. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Today is the deadline to clear up any issues with your license if you want to receive a refund on your license plate sticker. The Ontario government announced last month it is ending license plate renewal and sticker fees. Now, in order to get the refund, you need to make sure your address is up to date or you won't receive your check in the mail. The government is also reminding people to pay any outstanding tickets, tolls, or fines. Refund checks are expected to be mailed between the end of this month and April. Service Ontario is aware of a text message scam related to the fund. They say people will not be contacted directly. Welcome back. One of the key leaders of the so-called Freedom Convoy truck protest, Tamara Leach, has been granted bail after being denied in February. A swarm of supporters cheered after an Ottawa judge ruled the 49-year-old could be released from jail under certain conditions. Leach must leave the nation's capital in the next 24 hours. She can't have contact with other protest organizers and must refrain from using social media. Leach was behind the now halted GoFundMe campaign that raised more than $10 million to support the protest. She was arrested and charged on February 17th. People who live in Toronto's downtown east side gathered at a vacant lot on Sherbourne Street today. It's the future site of, well, that depends. It's being marketed to condo developers, but some want the city to buy the property for social housing. As Trevor Dunn reports, they don't have much time.
Sitting vacant, but very valuable, not only on the red-hot real estate market, but also for people who call the Dundas and Sherbourne neighborhood home.
This is an area where people are always in a state of crisis. This is a place of the needy. The problem is that people, the developers and other people are trying to kick us out. We have been here forever. We came here first.
It's prime real estate on a major downtown street in the heart of an area dealing with homelessness, addiction, and crime. This winter, shelter workers say at least 2 people froze to death in the neighborhood. The city has been trying to buy the property for several years, but the owner wasn't interested. Now it's for sale, being marketed as a high-rise opportunity for condo developers.
I'm not sure who's living in all these condominiums, but it's certainly not us.
Like much of the city, this area is changing, not only home to more condos, but more young people and families. While some think a private development would spruce up the street, homeless advocates say it would only make things worse.
The only way you're going to address these concerns of the people living in houses is to address the concerns of the people who are living on the streets first.
The local councillor has also been pushing for the city to buy the property, but with the sale happening later this week, there isn't much time left.
It's all about political will at this point in time. So either they support our community at Sherbourne, Dundas, or they don't. They either want to build and support affordable housing, or they don't. They want to address homelessness, or they don't. That's really the question.
We reached out to Mayor John Tory to ask him about what he thinks about the purchase of the property. The mayor says he looks forward to hearing from city staff once all the due diligence is put into looking into the purchase of the property. The problem is that staff report still isn't ready yet. There is a council meeting this week, but it isn't clear it can even be put on the agenda for council to consider. And the owner, of course, is taking bids on the property this Friday. Trevor Dunn, CBC News, Toronto.
You're looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, partly cloudy tonight with a few flurries lingering overnight. Currently, it is 1 degree in downtown Toronto. Let's go back to Colette now with a look at your extended forecast. And Colette, things have been calming down and the snow tapering off as we head into the overnight.
Yeah, the main event kind of pushing away from us and just leaving some flurry activity behind, and the winds will eventually ease as well. Going to be a wind chill to deal with, though, tomorrow morning, so it's getting back into that frame of mind, right? So feeling about -10 tomorrow. Be prepared to dress for those kinds of conditions to start the day, but then the winds do ease in the afternoon. Bringing back some sunshine, though. It was pretty gloomy today, and along with the messy mix, and so it'll be nice to get some sun and feeling a little better, lift our spirits somewhat. And then looking through much of the week, it's kind of fairly quiet conditions, pretty close to seasonal, at least for the daytime highs. But as we get towards the weekend, we'll have a system coming in kind of Friday into Saturday, and also then into the weekend. We are going to find those temperatures sort of dipping down again. So kind of main system pushes away. Still some cloud cover lingering in spots tomorrow and a few flurries early in the morning. Then we get that clearing and we get into more sunshine. You can see it back into southwestern Ontario too. I will say here into the afternoon, you'll start to see a bit of increasing cloudiness coming back in late tomorrow, and then obviously into Wednesday as well. And we'll get a few flurries in a couple of spots, but just not a lot of activity there. Late Thursday, there's the increasing cloudiness. It'll be into Friday. That next system will come in. So we'll kind of leave that, put that aside, because we've got a few days without much active weather. Some of the snowfall from what has passed through, the heavier amounts kind of to the north and over towards the east as well. And in many cases, you know, the roads are still warmer from what happened yesterday with the temperature spikes. They're not seeing a lot of it sticking around, more so on the grass than anywhere else. Those winds still a little gusty, and then they're backing off even a little bit into the morning, but enough to give us that cool wind chill in the minus double digits. But into the afternoon, it is going to feel much better. Sunshine, the temperature getting above freezing, and the wind's not as strong. Your lows tonight and your wind chills tonight in southwestern Ontario. Slight chance for a few flurries, especially there around Chatham-Kent tomorrow. To the afternoon hours, a few early morning flurries could be lingering here around the Golden Horseshoe tomorrow afternoon. 2 to 4 degrees for those daytime highs. And there it is. We kind of hang there until we get into the weekend with those temperatures, Kelda.
Great. Thanks so much. Finally tonight, one Toronto artist used the pandemic to channel some of the city's music history. He combined his passion for live music and carpentry to breathe life back into dozens of music halls that have been closed for years. Take a look.
This town has been very, very good to me. I'm very thankful for the 54 years I've spent here. This is my way of saying thank you very much. Here's my gift back. I'm currently working on one that's called Not My Dog, which was a small place out in Parkdale. Hi, I'm Andrew Smith, and I'm a retired carpenter. And I'll drill another hole, and the wire will go through so that it looks like it's cabled up. When the pandemic came, I needed something to keep myself occupied, to keep my sanity. And so I came up with a project of building miniatures. It came from doing little libraries, and it was building those that looked like their houses that gave me the idea that doors could be sculptural. And out of that came the brainstorm. I could make anything as a little library. I could even make the silver dollar as a little library. And that's what I started to do. What I've settled on is building miniatures of bars that have closed. My parameters are they had to have live music and that they are no longer in business. Toronto has always tried to position itself as Toronto Music City. Well, my take on it is Toronto Lost Music City, bars that are now silent. I was looking at doing iconic signage. And so I did the Silver Dollar, and I did the Real Jerk restaurant, and then I did the Matador sign, and that's where everything changed. When I posted the Matador sign, the response I got was phenomenal. And I realized that I'd hit a vein of nostalgia that I needed to feed. And so that's what I've been doing, is feeding nostalgia. A lot of these venues disappeared, and people generally have a fond memory. I had someone who was talking about my model of the gasworks, and he said, I can remember myself walking down Yonge Street, and that's exactly the way I saw it as I walked by it. And there's a gleam in their voice when they talk about things like, and that's what I want to hear. I want to see the smile in their eyes.
And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.